Let's look at segmentation and how Stealthwatch can help you verify your segmentation, design, and deploy. We're going to look at two different environments. One will be guest wireless, and then after that, we'll look at HVAC. We're going to look at how you can create host groups and also create custom security events to make sure that your segmentation, design, and deploy is actually verified and working, and there is no traffic leaking outside of the segments that you built. We're going to first look at the guest wireless, and in the guest wireless, we're going to actually create host groups, and together we will actually create the custom security event that will trigger the policy violation. So what we're going to go ahead and do is pretend that we are deploying a new guest wireless services in our environment. The end use rules will be at 10.2.96, and the servers that we're going to be providing to our local guest wireless users will be on 10.2.209. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and go to the Stealthwatch Management Console and create a host group for these guest wireless services. So here we are at the Stealthwatch Management Console, and we're going over to the inside hosts. You can do it by function, you can do it by location. We're going to go ahead and do it by function. In fact, we're going to hit the big hammer and just add right under function the guest services and put both subnets actually in here. The 10.2.96 and also the 10.201.0/24. Then we're going to hit save. So now we have our host groups. What now? We want to create a custom security event that will give us a policy violation alert if either of these two subnets, if anyone in this host group in guest services ever talks to any other inside host in our network outside of the guest services host group, truly verifying whether our segmentation is really working. So let's go create that policy violation. So here we are back at the Stealthwatch Management Console. This time we're going to go ahead and create a custom security event. We're going to call it something meaningful, seg violation guest. And then we're going to go ahead and tell it when to alarm. We're going to say, well, the host groups that we're worried about are the guest services. So that is the subject host groups. And then the peer groups, who should or should they not talk to. This is interesting. You can either include for 1 click or exclude for 2 clicks. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to exclude for 2 clicks. And then what we're going to see is when any host within guest services communicates with any host except those within guest services, an alarm will be raised. We're going to turn it on and then save it. So we've created our custom security event. Now what? Well, this wouldn't be very fun if we didn't have a policy violation. So let's go ahead and notice in the Stealthwatch Management Console that we have a policy violation. Stealthwatch, upper right-hand corner, we saw a policy violation. We clicked it. That brings us to here. Now we see 10.2.96.21 has a policy violation on it. We can see the current filters, policy violation, inside hosts. Also, if there were any other alarms, they would be listed here as well as across here. So we'd have 2 policy violations. We're in guest services. Now what happens if we actually click? Let's click on this host that's having the policy violation. So if we come here, we'll see that, yeah, we're 10.2.96.21 in host group guest services. We're talking to catch-all, and we're also talking over here as well. But what is this catch-all thing? Catch-all and guest services. Now down here we can see segmentation violation, and we're talking to 10.2.210.91 in catch-all. Let's click on associated flows here. So if we click on associated flows, it'll tell us what the flows were that had the policy violation. If we look here, we can see that the peer that we're having the policy violation is 10.2.210.91. It is over in this thing called catch-all. But what is catch-all? So catch-all is any inside host that you did not actually define in a more granular way. So it is essentially catch-all. Okay, so our guest end users are talking to some subnet in 10.2.210.0. This is in a category catch-all because we've never actually put it into a more granular host group. Now, what we're going to pretend that we did is we're going to pretend that we called somebody up and find out actually that 10.2.210 is a new guest services subnet for the guest users and should not be in catch-all, but should actually be within that segment. So let's go ahead and modify the host group to include 10.2.210. So back to host group management. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the guest services that we have here. And we're just going to go ahead and click Edit. And then we're going to add into it 10.2.210.0 and click Save. And that's it. We will now have no more policy violations going forward, alerting us to the fact that 10.2.96 is talking to 10.2.210 because now 10.2.210 is within the segmentation, and that is an allowed and not a forbidden conversation. So that's segmentation for guest wireless. What we actually discovered in our guest wireless segmentation is that our design and deploy of the guest wireless segmentation in our network was actually accurate. The policy violation was because of the fact that we had not done the proper due diligence of taking the new subnet for guest services and putting it into the host group for Stealthwatch. Let's look at another example of segmentation. Let's say we have a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning contractor. Now that contractor is going to be in subnet 10.1.91 right here. And it's going to be allowed to talk to all of the HVAC devices in our environment in subnet 10.1.109. We're also going to go ahead and allow it to talk to the corporate DNS servers in 10.101.103. But that's all we're going to have it talk to. Let's look at the policy for this. So here we are at the Stealthwatch Management Console. And as you can see, this is our policy management custom security event for security violation for HVAC. And you can read again in the words when any host within HVAC contractors communicates with any host within inside hosts except those within DNS servers and HVAC devices. And then an alarm will be raised. So we are allowed to talk to the DNS servers and we are allowed to talk to the HVAC devices, but nobody else. So here we are at the dashboard, and we actually see right here, HVAC contractors has a policy violation. So let's find out what's going on there. This is the HVAC contractors, and we're talking to the HVAC devices. We are talking to the DNS servers, but it seems we're also talking to web servers and FTP servers. Let's move down. So we actually have suspect data hoarding, we have high traffic. These are additional things that we're being told about, but let's focus in on these segmentation violations. So what we're being told is that the HVAC contractors are, as of just a few minutes ago, able to talk to the corporate FTP servers and the corporate web servers. This is not just an oversight now of missing something in a host group in Stealthwatch. This is true forbidden conversations that are happening in your network. So clearly the design and deploy of the segmentation is not working well. So I hope you see how Stealthwatch can help you verify your segmentation design and deploy. As I mentioned before, so many people do segmentation, but they just don't necessarily go back and actually verify that the segments are completely siloed and not talking outside of their silo. And again, Stealthwatch can help you with this. Have a good one.